and welcome to the Knit My Heart Sticka mitt hjärta podcast. My name is Maivor, and this is my YouTube place for my knitting and today quite a bit of crochet projects. Today I am recording in a different setting once again. I am in our summer cottage in the south of Finland, in Pura. And I've been here for a few days. I'm not actually on holiday. I am still working, but I did have a physical work meeting for the first time in over a year yesterday. So I've been here for a few days, just enjoying a bit of pre-holiday life. I go on annual leave, summer holidays tomorrow. And it has been incredibly hot in Finland, or in the south of Finland, the last few days. We've had 30 degrees every day, and you pretty much haven't been able to be outside because just moving in the sun has had you sweating really badly. But today and the previous days as well, we've actually had today we had a pretty strong thunderstorm, which really cleansed the air somehow. And so now the temperatures are down to about 20, which is refreshingly nice. It has been a long time since I last recorded, and I'm not gonna give you all my excuses for that. You know, life happens, work happens, allergy happens, soccer European championships happen. You know, all kinds of things happens, and sometimes you just prioritize other things. But I have been knitting, and I have been thinking about it, all of you guys, and now that I knew that I would have this time to myself, because I'm here actually on my own, I decided now I'm really going to take the time to record. So I actually did bring quite a bit of knitting with me, even though knitting in this heat I haven't done it that much. And I've also been recently to a few knit events, or knit meetings, knit nights, knit days with some other lovely knitters, and several people have told me that they're waiting for my next episode, so you know who you are. Thank you for nudging me on to get back to recording. And yeah, I think you just have to do it. I just have to do it, not worry about it too much, not make everything perfect. I just have to do it. Today is the Wednesday, I think, the Wednesday before midsummer, which means that we are right in the middle of summer, and I will try and get this uploaded sometime during the midsummer weekend. Tomorrow I will be driving home. It's about 400 kilometers back to Vasa, where I live. So yeah, let's start with some of the things I've been working on. I only have one project with me that is sort of finished. I have many more, of course, back home, but I didn't bring all of them. But I wanted to bring this one because I've been wanting to show this one to you, and I haven't even shown this one on Instagram yet because I haven't got it properly photographed and all those kinds of things, you know. But here it is, for you, for your eyes only. This is the Lehto sweater. I'm now thinking which is the back and which is the front. Can't quite decide. But this is a design that came out early this year, in winter, in the book Strands of Joy by Johanna, who's a Finnish designer. And it's a book all about stranded knitting. So all the designs there are stranded colorwork designs. And this is one of the simpler ones, but I wanted one that would have this kind of fairly simple and clear motif. And I have the book with me. This is the book. And there are many lovely designs in there. I'm gonna show a few of them in just a sec. This is knit from BC Garn, BC Yarn, Semilla, Melange, and Semilla Pura, which is a 100% wool, DK or sport, somewhere between sports and DK weight yarn. It has a slightly heathering to it, so it's not completely. It's solid, but it has this. Yeah, there's some color work on the cuffs as well. It has a slightly sort of heathered look to it, which I really like. And I really liked it. I really enjoyed knitting with this yarn. It has a lovely grip or grab or catch or whatever you call it when knitting color work, which means that it makes it easier somehow, and it makes it easy to get it nice and even, and lace beautifully once you block it. This pattern had quite a lot of options for I'm trying to think now, for sizing or shaping. It had the option to make bust darts, which I did. And I think that actually, I'm thinking if I did I do any other shaping modifications, but I don't think I did. But the bust darts, which is basically you make a few short rows over the bust to create a bit more space on the front, and that actually fits very well. I think that was a nice addition. Other than that, it doesn't really have waist shaping. And I also... No. I'm lying to you. I'm not sure it has waist shaping, but I have added some waist shaping under the bust. I think it's meant to be kind of boxy, but that doesn't really work for me. So I have added a bit of waist shaping right here. I ran a bit of yarn chicken race with the blue yarn, so I made it. I was debating with myself whether to make long sleeves or shorter sleeves, or to make the body full length or a bit longer. But I ended up wanting the big long sleeves and making the body actually a bit shorter. But it's now a sort of waist, just below waist length, and that's actually perfect for me. And I used up all the yarn. I have a small ball left. So that's a really nice new sweater. It's warm, and the yarn is beautifully soft, but still has this really rustic quality to it. So I'm really happy with that. And yeah, now I just need to get some photographs taken to actually put it on my Rva webpage and on my Instagram account as well. It's always difficult to get pictures of sweaters. You can easily photograph socks and things where you don't have to be the model yourself, but getting those sweaters photographed with yourself as the model is actually really hard. I thought I would just show you some of the other patterns from this book that I really like. I don't know how many I will be making myself, but they are. It's a good piece. It's a good reference work if you want to make top-down sweaters with or without color work, because you can use the shape of the garments as a basic reference if you want to make any garment, really. And I've started one other project, and let me just show you. I'll show it to you here. Sorry, I haven't bookmarked them, not organized enough. It's the calm dress. Mine will probably not be a dress because I don't have enough yarn. I'm just gonna... It has a colorwork yoke. And I will show that to you in just a second. And I'm also just gonna show you the Lehto. Did I say that the name of this pattern that I just showed you is Lehto? Where is it? That's the Lehto original pattern photo. And I'm gonna show you one more just pattern that I think is so beautiful and interesting. Not sure I'm actually going to make it myself, but I just think it's really... I don't have my reading glasses on, so I have to sort of to see the page numbers. The juxtaposition, which I think is really interesting. It's a fade where I think you use the fade sort of going both ways somehow. You start with dark and light at each end, and then they meet on the middle somehow. Haven't quite figured out that, but I just think this construction with all this all over pattern work, color work, is so clever, because how she's managed to actually make all the pattern parts meet and seamlessly go into each other, even though she has made it in multiple sizes. And also the graphic quality of this pattern, I think, is really, really interesting. And when I bought this, not when I bought the book, but when I bought the yarn, that was while we were on a small holiday trip in the winter. So I went to Kuopio to Kässäkerho Pom Pom. And they happened to have the trunk show of all the Anna Johanna's all the patterns, all the model garments from the book were in the shop. So I got to see all of them before deciding on the yarn and on the model. And this juxtaposition that I just showed you, I thought that was really a really beautiful garment. But as I said, I don't know if I will have the patience to actually make an all over colorwork sweater ever. But it was a really interesting pattern. This book, the Strands of Joy book, I've seen it a lot in social media, on Instagram, and I've seen Anna Johanna share a lot of the finished up garments from it, but I haven't actually seen very many podcasts video podcasters who have talked about it or shown patterns from it. I may have been looking in the wrong place, but if you have made any of these patterns, or if you and shown them in your podcast, and then please let me know in the comments below, because I would love to see other people who have made garments and who talk about them. So if I haven't, I'd love to get tips about on people who have made the Johanna garments. She's a Finnish designer, of course, and I like to highlight a bit of Finnish design here in my podcast as well. Johanna keeps regular tea time chats on her Instagram account, and they are in English every other week and in Finnish every other week. She will be going on maternity leave though fairly soon, I think, so maybe she won't be holding them, but if you go to her Instagram account, which is Johanna, I think, then you can find them on Instagram Live, all of her previous chats, where she talks about her own projects and her designs and her design process, and also about the book and all sorts of things. So that's today's tip from me to the designer Johanna. Yeah, one of my works in progress is the calm dress, or the calm sweater, as it will probably be, which now is a complete mess here. I have this extra needle that's sticking out somehow. Here we go. This is how far I've got. Oh, this is very difficult. I've made the colorwork yoke, and I think I need to do some waist shaping pretty soon. As I said, I'm probably won't be making this into a full-length dress, because I only have a limited amount of yarn. I'm also thinking that I might make it short-sleeved. That way I can probably make it a bit longer in the body, and we'll see how far it goes. I am using the Isager Merilin yarn, which is left over from my husband's sweater, which I finished. I think I did show it in my last podcast, but it wasn't close to being finished then. I don't think it is finished now. I don't have that with me. It's kind of huge, but it's a very basic saddle shoulder sweater in this Merilin yarn only. Maybe I will get to show it at some other point. But I bought the yarn for that project specifically, but then there was about 200 grams left after I had finished his sweater. So I thought I'll make something for myself, and then I'll just use the yarn as long as it goes, and then we'll see how big a garment. But it is a really, this yarn really goes a long way, I have to say. I have up until now used, this is what's left of about, well, maybe just over 50 grams, I think. Yeah. So it means I still have 150 grams left. And if I make short sleeves, I'm pretty confident that it will be a good length, good size. Maybe even sort of a tunic length. The contrast yarn here is also a leftover yarn. It's Kerä, Lankakauppa Kerä Merino sock. It's a hand-dyed yarn, and it's sort of a very dusky pink color. But I think these two actually go really well together. This inky blue, which is a little bit sort of boring by itself, but I think this dusky pink really kind of complements it, and they create a very harmonious union, I think. So looking forward to not wearing this now because just holding it is warm and hot, but it's a very pleasant yarn against the skin, and so I will have no problems wearing it when the temperatures allow. For this I have made a slight modification and placed the arms, or the sort of the armholes. I have placed them a bit further back on the body rather than have them sort of center, which means that you have as many stitches on the back as you have on the front. I have a larger number of stitches now on the front to accommodate for the bust and the larger part of me on the front of my body, and a smaller number on the back. And as far as I can see when I've tried it on, it looks good. Now that's a very easy modification to make when you have a round yoke sweater, because once you sort of finish the yoke, you just simply move the number of stitches, or you move the division for the arms, just a few stitches in the desired direction. I got this tip from Tuulia Salmela from Louhittaren Luola, who's a Finnish indie dyer and designer, and I did an online course with her, which was called Mittamalli, which means measurement, know your measurements, or modify garments to fit your own measurements, that sort of thing. But that was the contents of the course. She talked about how you can measure your body, what measurements are really important to think about when knitting, and how you can modify existing patterns or even create your own according to those measurements. It was very, very interesting, very, very sort of in-depth, and almost a bit nerdy, if you're into like construction and really want to think about these things in depth. It was really good. She's very good at these sort of things, and it was in Finnish, and I did it just earlier in June or May. Maybe it was in May actually. Yeah. And that was one of the things she suggested, that you can move the armholes. If your measurements tell you that there is more on the front of your body than on the back of your body, why should the parts be equally large? But instead you can modify it so that the garment corresponds better with your actual shape. So I'm going to be thinking about that a lot more in my knitting. So that was the calm sweater, tunic, dress, whatever. And I realize I'm also wearing a finished object, actually. This is the Katama tank by, I now forget, but I will add it either on the screen or in the box below, or it will come to me. But the Katama tank, anyway, it's not a recent pattern. It's quite it's been on Ravelry for many years, I think. But I found it and thought, this is a good basic summer top pattern, and I whipped this up fairly quickly. I'm just gonna stand up a little bit See if I can turn around. I don't know what that will look like at all. Just showing you the back. And it's knitted from the but is it knitted from the bottom or from the top? I think it's knitted from the bottom, but I can't be quite sure. Can you tell I'm in holiday mode? I don't remember anything. But anyway, it's knit in the round, and it has a clever construction around the neckline, which means that you get this sort of well-fitted and I think at least fairly flattering sort of shape up here. And this is knit from a really deep stash yarn. It's Novita's Cotton Yarn Tennessee. The Tennessee yarn hasn't been in production for quite a few years, and this was like a really old colorway that I think I actually found in a thrift shop many years ago. And I really like this color. I think this color is really me. But it's a fairly heavy cotton yarn, which means that if you make sort of a full garment with sleeves and sort of that has more fabric to it, it actually becomes a bit sort of, you know, warm and doesn't feel too, you know, those heavy cottons actually aren't that nice and cool in the summer. But having this kind of fairly close-fitted shape and no sleeves actually works really well, even in this heat that we're having now. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. And I'm happy that I actually finished something before the summer so that I could wear it once the heat of the summer actually hit us. So the Katama tank by yes. Well, now let's move on to. Oh, I've got all these projects here. I don't want this episode to be too long, but I have so much to tell you. So let's go into the crocheting. I have been stuck in Crochetland. I saw a pattern for a blanket, a knitted blanket, and I just like, I have to make that. I have to make that. And so I started making it. And this is it. Oh, I'm not sure what the light was doing there while I was showing it, but I think showing a white, predominantly white, actually washes the light out from the rest of the image, but let me just bring it up a little closer. So this is the 4 blanket. The name of it is 4. It is by Hooked on Sunshine is her Ravelry name. I couldn't find her last name. Her name is Vanessa, but I couldn't find her full name when looking on Ravelry. But you'll find her as Hooked on Sunlight. And she has made many blanket and other crochet patterns in this same style, where you start from the beginning. You start from the beginning. How ingenious! You start from the center. You start from the middle, and then you work your way out. And I love how she has constructed this pattern. I love the pattern. It's free. So far it's free. I think there's been a crochet along, around this pattern. And for the crochet along, it's been free, but it may turn into a paid for pattern once the crochet along is finished. But I was able to get it for free anyway, and it's in 10 parts, and each section has a really well illustrated and photographed description. For every row there is a description, and there is photos of the stitches. Now I'm not at all very proficient in knitting and in crocheting with numerous different kinds of stitches. I didn't know the names of these stitches, so I've had to read up on what all the stitches are called and how they're made. But everything is in that pattern. There is a tutorial, a picture tutorial, and maybe there are even video tutorials if you go look. Everything is in there, so you don't really have to know anything. Everything is in that pattern, and you can just start and learn as you go along. And I think that's wonderful about crochet, that it's not, well, of course, when making a blanket, you don't have to think about shaping and fitting and that sort of thing. And also, you can just undo one row if you've made a mistake. You don't have to go think back to row 5 from 25, because it's easy to correct your mistakes as you go along. And I love how how this pattern, and also the other one that I'm also making, has a kind of 3D effect to it. And she has these rows that have these kind of bubbly types, or they're called popcorns. And it's not all flat. It has this structure and texture to it all the way, which just makes it very interesting and very nice to look at. So yeah, this is what I have been doing. This is supposed to be a sort of fade, where I start with the sort of white cream and light blue in the middle, and then it gets gradually darker. Now the jump between these two blue colors is quite big, so it's not much of a fade really. But I still think it looks really nice. And it's about, let's say this is about 1 meter maybe now, and I still have about, I think the finished size of it is about 1.60 meters or something like that, times 160 in a square. It's a square blanket. And of course the rows just keep getting longer, so I think yesterday, as I was watching the football games, I only managed to finish 1 or possibly 1.5 row during that time. So it takes a bit of patience now, but it is very meditative and very contemplative to just sit and do a bit of crochet whenever you sit down to watch something, or watch the thunderstorm, which just passed, but eventually it got so dark that I couldn't even see what I was doing. So yeah, Crochetland is where I'm at, not only with this one, but also with another one by the same designer, Hooked on Sunshine. And whereas for this one, I did buy the yarn, because it takes about 2 kilos of yarn altogether. And I didn't have that sort of scrap yarn, and this is cotton. I am mainly using this rainbow yarn from Hobby in white and in the blue shades, and then I'm using some stash yarn, which is the cream. I don't know how well you can tell that there are 2 different sort of natural whites. One is, one is more of a white, and the other one is a cream. And that's a stash yarn that I had. Okay, but I had to buy this one. Whereas for this one, I have used only only stash yarns and only leftovers and only little scraps and balls and whatever I have had lying around. And I have gotten this far. They're almost the same size now, both of these. And this is wool or wool blends. In all the possible colors that I could find in my stash. And it's a great way to use up those yarns. These are mostly DK weight yarns. Many of them are Novita Nalle yarns, which is a yarn that I don't really fancy for pretty much anything. I find it a bit too thick for socks, and a bit too rustic for garments. So, but it's perfect for this kind of project. So I have thrown in all my Nalle scraps and all the other sort of DK scraps that I've had lying around. And when I ran out of some of the DK scraps, I used some fingering scraps in between, and that worked fine as well. So that has been a great deal of fun. Now it's at this point it is a bit warm to be working on, I have to admit. So I have worked more on the cotton version or the cotton pattern than on this one lately. But there's no rush, is there? And this pattern is called Lilliana, the Lilliana blanket by Hooked on Sunshine. And it has the same sort of setup as the other one in that it has really detailed instructions. And that's free. I think that was a crochet along a few years ago. And it's now out on Ravelry as a free pattern, which I think is incredible because there's so much work gone into making those instructions. So, but really, really happy that I found these patterns, and I have just learned so much about crocheting, and I just enjoyed putting together the colors. And sometimes the color combinations have been good, and sometimes not so good, but in the sort of big scale of things, I think it's fairly successful. You can tell that here I've had some more cool pink colors, whereas here I've had more sort of or burnt yellow and stuff. But I ran out of that and had to take something else. So it's that kind of project. So yeah. Love my crochet blankets. People ask me, what are you gonna do with them? Well, I'm gonna take naps with them. Or sit on them when I go out for a picnic, or have them lying as pretty objects for people to admire on my sofa. Not everything has to be super useful, does it? Sometimes you just have to make and create things for the pleasure of it. Yeah, those were my crochet projects. And then I think I have one more project, which is also kind of a summary and summer related top. Let's see now. This is the Ginga top by Yoko Johnston, I think is her name. This is also not a new pattern, but I was looking for summer tops and I found this and I thought, yep, let's try that one. Oh, that doesn't look very good. Let's just the back. It has these lacy panels on the back and on the front. And then it also has short sleeves that you pick up, so I haven't gotten to those yet. And it has an I-cord finish along the neckline, which I also haven't made yet. There is also a lace edging, or the same kind of panel as on that you have on the back, goes at the bottom. I have started that one, just so goes like that. I have actually I have actually made it once and finished it and ripped it back because I blocked it when I had finished the body all the way to the bottom. I blocked it and it really grew and became really long, much longer than I wanted it. So I actually ripped it back and just shortened it a bit. So now I'm having another go at the bottom lace there. But this is a very, very nice and very well written pattern, so it's easy to follow along, and I don't mind doing some parts twice. This is a merino linen yarn from Wool Me Once fibers. Let's see, I have the now you will be seeing this back to front. I know, because I have to use my front camera for this. But Wool Me Once is a finish in the dyer, and this is the yarn, balled up, caked up. It's a merino, a 90% merino, 10% linen, a singles yarn. It's hand dyed, and this has only a very slight variegation. The colorway is called Dawn. A very sort of soft pink color. I haven't knit, or I haven't worn, shall we say, tops made from merino or merino blends in the summer before. I don't know what I will think about that. I have a feeling it will feel a bit warm. Even though I know that wool is kind of self-regulating when it comes to that you can still wear wool when it's warm, but this does feel a little bit, especially in this weather that we've had now, this does feel a little warm. But I will finish it and see how it goes. I mean, there's nothing to say that you can't wear it in winter if you don't want to wear it in summer. And with the speed of things going, I might not even finish it while it is still summer, because I've had to redo it, and because I haven't picked up the sleeves yet, and because I keep getting stuck in Crochetland and doing other things that are sometimes more fun than picking up sleeves. So, but there's nothing wrong with the pattern. The pattern is good, it's fine, it's very well written, and the yarn is also lovely to work with. So we'll see when I finish that one. Yeah. Do I have anything else to say? Of course I do. I have some yarn acquisitions. Some of them are really recent as yesterday. Well, let's start with those. Speaking of summer knitting, even though I am stuck in Crochetland, I still live in the imagination that I will be finishing several summer garments this year for me to wear, and so I bought some summer yarn, which is called Green Cotton Linen. It's by Garn. It seems to me that this is a new yarn because there were only a couple of projects on Ravelry with it. It is an 80% organic linen, organic cotton, 85% organic cotton and 15% linen yarn. It has this slight unevenness to it. I don't know if that shows at all. I think it reminds me quite a lot of Sannes Tynnline, even though that it has also some viscose in it, I think, but it's a similar weight and similar feel to it. And this red color isn't quite as bright as it looks on my screen, at least. It's a slightly muted sort of corally red. And I'm thinking a striped tee, maybe with long or quarter length sleeves. And I'm thinking those slightly cool weather days with a pair of linen trousers. I actually bought a pair of linen trousers that are in a red color, and so I specifically bought yarn that I thought this would look good with that outfit. Yeah, so let's see how I get on with all of my summer projects. I'm thinking I'm on holiday. I have endless hours of knitting time, which of course I don't, because, well, you know, life needs taking care of in between. But at least I have yarn. I don't have to go I don't have to be without yarn, because that would be horrible, wouldn't it? So that's a project waiting to happen. I bought these at Lankamaailma in Helsinki yesterday when I was after my work meeting, and it's a nice new yarn to me. So we'll see how that performs once I get going with it. And last weekend, the weekend before I came down here to Pura, there was a knit pop-up event back home in Vasa, where Rva Silmusolmu was the yarn vendor, and then you could sit and knit and have a coffee and a chat, and then you could shop for some yarn. Now, Rva Silmusolmu is an indie dyer. She has beautiful hand-dyed yarns, and she also sells other yarns. And I bought one of the other yarns this time. I do have some of her hand-dyed yarn as well, and it is lovely. But this time I actually went for a sweater quantity, and this is what I bought. This is Finnish wool, and it's called Johanna, and it's by Jalovilla. And it's a single yarn, fingering weight, single yarn. And this is in one of their summer colorways, which is called kaste, and that means dew or dewdrops. And I think that's kind of perfect, don't you think? Now, this I also bought thinking of an outfit. I have a pair of trousers. Again, I have these colorful trousers back home. I'm just waiting to see if it starts to rain, but I think it's just the wind, because if it starts to rain, it will be really noisy, and then I have to think about taking a break. But no, false alarm. Yeah, I have these trousers, and they are really difficult to find things to match with them. So, which means that when you're lazing about the house, you know, you don't have to have matchy things. But if you want to go out among people, you might actually want to look a bit tidy, even wearing those trousers. And I have really struggled to find anything to go with them. And so now I actually brought them with me, and I looked for a yarn that would go color-wise, would match those trousers, and I found this yarn. And so this I am thinking a simple, maybe just a simple raglan single colored sweater, nothing fancy at all, just a very simple, stylish everyday sweater, something that you can pull on maybe as an outer garment when leaving the house and being out about with people, and still wearing your garden trousers. And this yarn is also really lovely and soft, or it feels a bit rustic now, but I am confident it will soften very much once blocked and worn. I think I said in my last episode, which was many moons ago, that the yarn that I was challenging myself to only buy Finnish yarn this year from that point onwards. Now, I didn't quite do that. Partly because I have been buying some of these summer yarns, and we don't grow cotton in Finland. So there is no way that you can buy Finnish cotton yarns or even linen, even though I think it's possible to grow linen in Finland, but I don't think we grow it for on an industrial scale. But this is Finnish yarn, at least. So now I have a sweater's worth of Finnish yarn. And of course this yarn, the from Woolmy Ones, is also by a Finnish indie dyer, but it's not a Finnish yarn. It's not produced in Finland. So I am still keeping that challenge very much in mind. And any wool projects I will be making during the rest of this year, I will be looking for Finnish yarn alternatives. If I don't have it in my stash, I will try to find Finnish alternatives for those patterns. But now, of course, I have not one sweater quantity, but 2 sweater quantities. So I am fully busy for the next few months at least. And finally, I just brought with me another yarn that I bought at the same time as I ordered from Woolmy Ones, which was sometime in March or April. I also bought another skein of yarn from her, which I just think is so pretty that I just look at it. So far I haven't even opened it. I have just looked at it and sort of petted it because I think it's so nice. This is her sock yarn, her sock base, her Merino sock base. And this is a dual, this is 2 skeins. This is 50 plus 50 grams. So there is 1 skein of this dark blue and 1 skein of this light color. And 50 grams of each. So you can make socks, or I'm thinking I would like to make this into a shawl or a scarf. If I can find a pattern that needs only 1 skein. And this is called Längtan till Haru. And that is a reference to, correction. Längtan till Haru is this light color here, and the dark color is called Mariana Trench. But this Längtan till Haru, that's a reference to let's see if you can see that it has these, it's a very sort of light cream, and then it has these sort of beachy colored speckles and a little bit of blue. So it's a very lightly speckled yarn. But Längtan till Haru, as I was saying, that is a reference to Tove Jansson, which is the Finnish author and the mother of the Moomin Trolls. And I think her favorite island out in the archipelago, actually not very far from where I am right now, that was called Haru. And Längtan till Haru means longing for Haru. This somehow, it creates all sorts of associations. I am a real sucker for pretty names. I can buy yarn just because they have pretty names. And this is kind of that kind of a purchase, actually. But then I am a linguist, so. But this also creates associations to sea and to the archipelago, and also to this place for me, because I know that this is a very special place for me. It's very precious, and I know that Haru was very precious to Tove Jansson. So for me, this could also be Längtan till Älvviken, which is this place. So when I make something out of this, I will be thinking of summer and archipelago and sea and thunderstorms and cottage fires. Yeah, I think that was it. I think this was all I had to show you and talk to you about today. I am thinking about how I want to continue with this podcast. I do want to continue, but I'm thinking that it might suit me better to do some kind of thematic episodes rather than these journal types where I just show you what I've been making. Because since like this time when it's been a while, I couldn't possibly show you everything. I, for instance, didn't have any socks. Today I do have a whole set of socks at home that I have finished, but I didn't bring all of those because that would have been just too much content. So I'm thinking that it would be nice to maybe do some type of thematic episodes, maybe talking about socks and sock designers, or sock yarns or something one time, and then the other next time talking about something else, circling around one specific subject or theme. If you have any suggestions or wishes or things that you would like me to talk about, or that you would want me to show you, or talk about from my own knitting or my knitting history or something, please let me know down below. Throw out some ideas at me. Help me see what I can do next time. And then we'll see where that takes us. I hope it won't be as long until next time, now that I finally got over this hurdle of actually recording. And I hope you have a wonderful summer. Enjoy I was gonna say enjoy the rain, because now that it's been so hot, rain is what I'm enjoying most. But enjoy the weather. I hope that you're able to enjoy the weather, whatever it is, and whatever you're doing. And I hope that you have a lot of knitting or crocheting to do. See you next time. Bye.